Hi everyone, it's Michael here, and I'm back again with a new book and new chapter. All right, so I'm doing researching two books now. First is the Essays of Warren Buffett, and second is the Dhandho Investor. So this book have been recommended by a fellow guy from Twitter, so it's fantastic and it's really interesting. So I'm reading two books, and I'll be posting chapter by chapter summary of both books. So I'm going to start off with Dhandho Investor first, and it's a great book. Been written by Monish Pabrai. You should check him out. You should Google. He's a fanatic of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger especially, and you gotta watch his videos and talks. Amazing guy. I've learned a lot, way a lot from him compared to Munger and Warren Buffett. Yeah, I mean I'm not over exaggerating. He's just that he's sharing some minor details and parts that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have never explained before. So these are the things that you can learn. Plenty of things to learn. So I believe this book is going to give me a lot, and to all of us as well. So let's get started. All right. Okay. So first chapter. Chapter one is Patel, Motel, Dhandho. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. All right. It is amazing that over half of all the motels in the entire country USA are owned and operated by Patels. So there were virtually no Patels in the United States just 35 years ago. They started arriving as refugees in the early 1970s without much in the way of education or capital. So Patels as a group today own over $40 billion in motel assets in the United States. They pay over $725 million a year in taxes and employ nearly a million people. How did this small, impoverished ethnic group come out of nowhere and end up controlling such vast resources? There is one explanation, one word: Dhandho. I don't know, am I pronouncing it right? Dhandho, it is pronounced as Dhandho. It's a Gujarati word. Dhan comes from the Sanskrit root word dana, meaning wealth. Dhandho, literally translated, means endeavors that create wealth. The street translation of Dhandho is simply business. So that's the explanation of it. And Dhandho is all about the minimization of risk while maximizing the reward. Wow, I love this. Riskless, that's the idea. Dhandho is thus best described as endeavors that create wealth while taking virtually no risk. Dhandho is capital allocation at its very finest. So Dhandho is how the Patels have exponentially compounded their net worths over the past 30 odd years. Wow, that's awesome. That's a lot. That's immense amount of hard work. The Patels and the Ismailis, the backstory, have been a very entrepreneurial community for centuries. They came to control a large proportion of the businesses in Uganda. So General Idi Amin, he came to power in Uganda as a dictator in 1972. He declared that Africa was for Africans and that non-Africans had to leave. Okay, so that's a tough part, and that's an opportunity for them. So what happened is that a total of 70,000 Gujaratis were thus stripped of virtually all their assets and thrown out of the country toward the end of 1972. The vast majority of the Patels and the Ismailis were allowed to settle in England and Canada. A few thousand families were also accepted by the United States as refugees. Awesome. The first few Patels who arrived in the United States went into the motel business. I'm curious why they have to get into the motel business. The reason we end up with concentration of ethnic groups in certain professions is because role models play a huge role in how humans pick their vocations. So why motels? Yeah, that's the question. Why? Many small motels are heavily basically dependent on discretionary spending. So many small non-discrete motels were foreclosed by banks or went on sale at distressed prices. So this is the part where Papa Patel he comes in. So Papa Patel in 1973 basically have been kicked out of Kampala, Uganda, and landed here in USA. So with a family to feed, he figures out that the best he can do with his strange accent and broken English speaking skills will be a job bagging groceries at a minimum wage. So Papa Patel sees the small 20-room motel on sale. If he buys it, the motivated seller or a bank will likely finance 80% to 90% of the purchase price. His family basically can live there as well, and their rent will go to zero. Between himself and his close relatives, he raises about $5,000 in cash and buys the motel. It required only a small investment and it solved accommodation problem because he could live, his family could live and work there. So you don't need any employees as well. Mama and Papa Patel worked long hours on the various motel chores and the kids help out during the evenings, weekends and holidays. That's amazing. Papa Patel's motel has the lowest operating cost of any motel in the vicinity. Of course, you have no employees. He can offer the lowest nightly rate and still maintain the same or higher profitability per room than his predecessors and competitors. His competitors experienced severe pressure on rates, leading to a spiraling reduction in occupancy and profits. Yeah, of course, because the low cost that they have introduced because of profitability can be increased, they can't match their price. So Mr. Patel has annual interest expenses of about $5,000, principal payments of $5,000, and another $5,000 to $10,000 in out-of-pocket expenses for motel supplies, maintenance, and utilities. Total expenses are thus under $20,000. Even if the family spends another $5,000 a year for living expenses, that's a big sum. Papa Patel nets over $15,000 a year after all taxes and all living expenses. So this is genius. The annual return on that $5,000 of invested capital is a stunning 400%, which is a $20,000 in annual returns from the investment, $15,000 in cash flow, and $5,000 in principal repayment. If he borrows the $5,000 from a fellow Patel, the return on invested capital is infinite, $0 in and $20,000 a year out. That's all fine and dandy, you might say, but what if the business does not work? What if it fails? See, Papa Patel has only $5,000 or less to his name, so the personal guarantee is meaningless. If he is unable to make the payments, the bank can take over the property, but he has virtually no assets outside of the motel. The bank has no interest in taking over the motel and running it. Of course, it has no such competency. It will be very hard for the bank to sell a money-losing motel and cover their note. The bank's best option is to work with Papa Patel to make the motel profitable. So the bank is likely to renegotiate terms and try to help Papa Patel get back on track. Genius. Dhandho. This is totally Dhandho. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or not, but Dhandho, obviously. This is not a risk-free bet, but it is a very low risk, high return bet. Heads I win, tails I don't lose much. Beautiful. With such a high cash flow coming in, Papa Patel is soon flush with cash. He still has a very modest lifestyle. His elder son comes of age in a few years and he hands over the motel to him. The family buys a modest house and goes hunting for the next motel to buy. This time, a larger motel with 50 rooms. The formula is simple. Fixate on keeping costs as low as possible, charge lower rates than all competitors, drive up the occupancy, and maximize the free cash flow. Finally, keep handing over motels to up-and-running Patel relatives to run while adding more and more properties. There is a snowball effect here, a very big one. And over time, we end up with these amazing statistics. Half of all motels in the United States are under Patel ownership. The Patels have begun buying higher-end hotels and have delved into a number of businesses where they can apply their lower-cost operator model for unassailable competitive advantage. For example, gas stations, Dunkin' Donut franchises, convenience stores, 7-Elevens, and the like. Amazing. That's it. A great chapter. This is the start of this book and first chapter of this book, and that itself has blown me away. So the idea is that Papa Patel is a genius. Yes, he is a genius. He has become a role model for the other Patels, and they followed him. It's amazing. So I can't wait for the chapter 2, and chapter 2 is about Manilal Dhandho. I have no idea what what is that, and next part will be I'm going through the essays of Warren Buffett as well. So Can't wait to finish all them off, and I have plenty of books to read, and it's going to be a great journey. So thanks a lot, and thank you for listening, and do follow me, do like on, do leave a comment, or do give your suggestion and feedbacks on, let's discuss about these concepts. Amazing. Thanks a lot, and thank you, Monish Pabrai, for writing this wonderful book. Thanks a lot. See you all soon. Bye bye. Subscribe.